What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me to get to 500 subscribers. I appreciate it. My name is Chike Kamara. I'm a Commanders fan. And shout out to Ace 30 for the footage as well as the NFL. All right, so Luke McCaffrey. He has got to be one of the most polarizing players on the team. Some people were saying that he should be cut from the 53 and maybe placed on the practice squad. Others were saying, what are you talking about? He's talented. He's always open. They just don't throw him the ball. He should be starting. And I believe I fall somewhere in between, and I'll explain why. First of all, I was really impressed with Luke McCaffrey at certain points last year. There were a bunch of times where he really bailed Jaden Daniels out on third down last year. He did most of his damage running routes that were crossers last year. If you remember the first sort of big play the Commanders had against Cincinnati, where Luke flashed in a window, Jaden threw it to him, and he took it to the 1 yard line. Almost got in, and the effort on that was great. And he had some other crossers. I think the Arizona play where he went up and got the ball was a crosser. There was another play either against, well, I don't know who it was against, but it was at Commander Stadium. And he caught a pretty tough catch headed towards the sideline, but he started off crossing the field. And to me, that was impressive. Also, what was impressive was his kick returns. I didn't know he had that kind of juice as far as kick returns. He returned a couple of them to the 35, 40 yard line. And I don't think he did it in college. We certainly know that he was a quarterback, and then he was converted to receiver and only played 1 year of receiver. And he did a pretty good job at it. And one of the reasons probably why he got drafted so high, which I don't agree with, but was because he has a great catch radius. He can make contested catches. He gives 100% maximum effort. So I really think there's a place for him on this team. And as far as him, whether he's always open, I will just sort of go with Logan Paulson's sort of explanation as to why he may not necessarily be always open as much as we think. He essentially intimated that in a lot of plays, Luke McCaffrey may be the fourth, fifth, or sixth option. And he was utilized a lot in a way where he was taking a defender with him away from where they wanted the play to go. And if you think about it, you had Noah Brown, you had Terry McLaurin, you had Zach Ertz. Sometimes you even had Eckler. That's 4 primary targets. By the time you get to the fifth read, then you're in trouble. But I'm not quite sure if Luke McCaffrey was as open as we all say he is. It was probably a function of the play design. He was sort of used as a decoy in some ways. Now, he has some limitations. To me, he's a little bit heavy-footed. He doesn't do well with the nuances of route running. And a lot of times he is predictable, or he shows his hand. Like he will get to the top of a route and he would jerk his head forward as though he was sort of fooling or faking out the DB in some way. And then he would do a comeback. But it was very telling. Like he was sort of really showing his hand at the top of routes. Like this play here. You can rewind if you like. But he gets to the top of the route, jerks his head forward as though he's trying to signal to the DB that he's going to continue forward, but he does a comeback. But it's such an easy tell. And also when he comes off the line and he has to make a quick-footed move, he seems to struggle at that a little bit. It's not as fluid and nuanced as you want. It's not as natural as you would want. Like he would take a step outside, then a step inside, and then make his move. It's almost like it's like paint by numbers instead of like a natural inclination of his. So he doesn't have the feel of a natural route runner. And in some ways, I wish he was 6'4" and 30 pounds heavier, because he would be a great tight end. He would be, to me, as good as Zach Ertz, because he runs good routes despite not having the nuance. But he does have a way of getting open, and he has a great catch radius like Zach Ertz. And he's super smart like Zach Ertz. So in a lot of ways, I think he would be a great tight end. But he's, 6'2", 215, something like that. So he's got to work with the body he was given. And so there's that. And I don't ever see him becoming an all-pro type receiver. I'm not sure I see him ever being a wide receiver too. But there's a role for him. There is something about his aggressiveness and toughness that impresses me. And I think it's hard. If it's hard for me to really figure out what role could be carved out for him, then it probably should be hard for the coaches as well. But if it's one thing we know about Cliff Kingsbury, we know that he does a good job of scheming players open. So they just have to scheme up more opportunities for him, especially when it comes to crossers or doing things from the slot, because he's very good at doing those things. Don't throw the ball to him behind the line of scrimmage and expect him to take it to the house. Although this preseason game, he had a pretty decent, fake out of one man and breaking of the tackle of another man to pick up good yardage. But I don't think that would be a regular occurrence. Somebody on social media said that his that play where he faked out one guy after he caught the ball and then broke the tackle of another, somebody said that was a great moves by him. And I wouldn't go so far as to say it was great, because it was a little bit heavy-footed. In a lot of ways, it was like a good tight end that has some moves, you know what I'm saying? But there's a role for him. And I'm trying to think if he could be like a Yoshi Vosh in Cincinnati, their third receiver. But I don't think he quite has the nuance of a Yoshi Vosh. Um, but could he be like that role? Maybe. But it's complicated now that you have Jalen Lane because that's wide receiver three. Although Debo isn't wide receiver anything, he's a utility guy. But you have Noah Brown. But when Noah Brown is nicked up and out, can can McCaffrey be that guy, or are they gonna just put somebody like a Ja'Cory Brooks in his position and he kind of overtake McCaffrey in some way? I don't know. I don't think they should. Like, Brooks is not ready, but he has a little something. He certainly has more skill at the little nuances of being a receiver for sure. So, what do you guys think? Like, which side are you on? Are you saying that he's a bust, like some people are saying, or are you saying give Luke McCaffrey more time? Um, in regards to the 53-man roster, I think I'm a little bit disappointed in the fact that they brought a lot of the guys back to be on their practice squad. That the same guys that were the backups in the drubbing they got throughout the preseason. I think what they got outscored 100 and something to 40 something or 30 something. Like, that's telling me that your backups are not as quality as you want. So I think you should always be trying to bring in the best players possible. Like, what did Jacoby Jones show? Not much. Even Ja'Cory Brooks had some drops. But in the games, Ja'Cory Brooks performed well enough. So, but there were some guys that were released and waived. I know that they were low in the pecking order as it relates to being able to claim guys off waivers because they had a good record last year. But that being said, there's still guys that did not, that cleared waivers that you could have bought in that probably could help you. Like, there are better receivers out there than all the receivers they have, even, but not all, not every single one, but there are receivers sitting out there that are, more talented than McCaffrey, that are more talented, that are the same size, that are as durable, or actually that are more durable than Noah Brown. But I get it. It's their guys. They trust them. They like them. They like their competitiveness, and they've spent time developing them. So I guess that's their prerogative. But for me, true competition is bringing in as much talent as possible. But we'll see how it goes. I think they don't have enough. I think they still need a couple more key backups to be comfortable. Because if you think about it, if Terry goes down, then what? If Debo goes down, then what? Like, how good is the talent behind them for you not to really skip a beat? And yeah, you have JD, but if receivers have a tough time getting open, then what? So that's all I got. So what do you guys think? What side do you fall on? Do you say keep working with Luke McCaffrey? Do you say that he can be a wide receiver too eventually, or a key piece eventually? Or do you say hey, he's a third round bust. You know, bring in a Malachi Corley. Surely Malachi Corley is more talented than the guys they have on the practice squad. But he just signed with the Browns, so that's water under the bridge. But those are the kind of guys you should be striving. Young, talented guys. If you see Malachi Corley's college tape, then you would see talent oozing from him and toughness and that dog ass competitor that DQ always talks about. But we'll see how it works out. All right, that's all I got. Thank you. Take care.